Hello everybody, I'm Renzo Mox, and today we're going to be taking a look at this special snowflake. Yes, me likey. Yeah, it's safe to say that most of the gags at the beginning of these videos is just going to be me throwing stuff. Hey guys, Renzo Mox here, back again with another toy review, and today we're taking a look at the Last Night Megatron Voyager Class figure. Now, this guy was voted over more popular than the Infinity War Iron Man. I'll get to that figure eventually. Don't you worry about it. He'll be the next one, don't worry. But some people in the comments were actually asking me to go ahead and review Transformers figures, so I figured it was appropriate to start off with the first one. I don't know, don't you? Right off the bat, this figure looks amazing. The painting and sculpting is fantastic. Now, Hasbro can be a little cheap sometimes, and there are some cut corners with this figure, especially in some of the weird paint apps, but you know what? Everything for the most part looks very, very solid. The actual color they chose for Megatron 2 is something that isn't really accurate for the movie at all. I think it's more of a silver in the actual movie, but you know what? Considering the fact that he's more of an evil character and they really wanted to get this point across, I'd say they did a pretty good job. Now, everything on this figure looks really tight and well put together. Even like the kibble on the back here looks really well done. It doesn't look out of place at all. It fits with the whole aesthetic of this character. He's kind of like this Black Knight sort of esque design with the Knights design from the Transformers movie. But you know what? I actually really like the aesthetic. He's got that sort of gallant look, but at the same time he's got this evil primordial look. And I really like that, and I think I just used that word wrong, but whatever. Now, while there's only like, 3 colors used on this thing, they all work very effectively well. There's this gunmetal color that they use throughout the body, which looks very nice and glossy. They use this yellow or like dark tan gold or whatever. I like that a lot. And then they do have some hints of black, and there's some slightly more subtle gunmetal, sort of like more simple gunmetal down here. And then there's some black tints, but other than that, this is most of the color scheme just right here. The figure is very compact. It feels like a very solid put together figure, and he's got a really good stance too. But is it me, or is his head just a little too small? I don't know if it's just me. I'll put up a reference picture or something. But other than that, he looks really good. You really do get the look of the character across, and I really like it. Now, I have seen the Last Night movie, and I kind of forget everything about it. I don't really remember the plot. I just remember it being really stupid, and I obviously am not a movie fan. However, I picked up this figure mainly because of how much I actually really like the design of this character, and I think that the toy does a good job at playing around with it. I mean, look at that head design. There's even some trans red plastic in there to kind of get those sunken in evil eyes, and I gotta say, that looks fantastic. Although I will note that the teeth being painted, the little chin area being painted the same gold color there, is a little awkward. I originally thought that was just the whole mouth, but there is actually a chin there that's painted. But it's so small that I can actually forgive it. Like, it's about the size of my finger for reference, so it's very, very small, and I don't blame them for messing up a paint job like that. I just wish that the mouth hadn't been painted like that. I wish they had worked a little harder with that. Now, he's a simple figure, but how does the articulation work? Well, he's got this ball joint on the head, but it can't really move that much. The head can look down about that far, and he can look up about that far, so not really at all. The shoulders are great. They can spin all the way around regardless, and these arms have this great feature where when you lift it up, the armor moves with it. The actual arm is on this little hinge joint, and you can lift it up quite a high amount. Just look at that. That's really good, actually. The wrists can move, however, they're not on a swivel. You just get the basic folding in feature, which is basically just there for the transformation. They could have added a swivel or something, not that bad. The waist actually, oh yeah, I should have mentioned that the actual gun itself, or the blaster, can move. This top part folds in, and again, this actually all does fold back, but that is again for the transformation. The waist capes all kind of, not capes, but the waist parts do actually all move. This section has a lot of articulation right here, but that gets into it later, and they can lift up for more passage of the legs, and the legs can lift up very far. You can get a lot of good bends in here. and you get tons of swivels, which is very good, and especially if you're a Jabba the Hutt fan, which I'm totally not trying to rip off right now.
Please note you're not funny if you spam swivel in Jobby's comment sections. It's not funny. Please stop it. Thank you.
And the actual legs have so much articulation, you can get even more articulation like that, and then pull it back, and you actually do get an ankle pivot. Like a really good ankle pivot. So yeah, the articulation on this guy is fantastic. He can move perfectly fine. It's not amazing. He doesn't have a waist swivel or anything like that, but I can come to expect that because he is a very complex Transformers figure who needed to fit in a transformation. And speaking of which, now hold on, before we get into that, he does actually have an accessory that comes on the figure, that being his Knight Sword. I really like the sword, it's very well done. With it in hand makes him look so much more intimidating and powerful, and it's a really, really cool sword design, you gotta give it that. And for easy storage, you actually can plug it onto this back part, which is a little loose, just a little bit, at least on my figure, but that's just because I'm so used to the transformation. You can easily plug that there on the back, and now it's okay. Again, like I said before, this is pretty loose, and with the sword on, it's just way too heavy to actually move, so it just constantly folds back. And you actually can store this weapon in vehicle mode, which we'll get to right now. Just like that, it is complete. Now that transformation did not take me very long at all, and the final result looks really cool. Now I don't have a stand or anything, so this is going to be pretty lazy, but you can just see how much detail I actually carried over. And this thing looks awesome, man. I love it. The wings look great, and I think the feet do look a little strange. I don't really know. They're kind of like flaps or something like that, but they don't really bother me too much. Not the point where I'm going to rant about it. And all the kibble from the robot mode is kind of down here, but you can excuse it since you're not really going to be seeing this part of the jet that much, so you're mostly just going to be looking at the top or side view, which from the top and side, they look really, really cool. Now, like I said before, there is a way to plug the sword into the back, just like that. It is a little weird, but you know what? It's a Transformers figure, so I don't really care. And overall, that look is just so awesome looking. It's definitely a very good alt mode. Myself, I don't really care too much about vehicles for the Transformers figures. When I buy a Transformers figure, I care about the giant robot. I don't care too much about the vehicle. But alas, it is still a very, very cool mode. So, let's switch it back.
All praise the mighty Conehead!
Now, as I can say, this is my very first Transformers figure, and I think it's one of my favorites. It is so cool, and while I'm not personally a movie fan or anything, I think this figure is awesome looking. I don't recommend buying him for anything over $50. I think that's a little too much to pay for this guy, but overall, he is a great looking figure. There's not too much to actually get mad about. There's just little things that I can nitpick here and there, but I mean, he's a Voyager class, awesome looking figure, and I totally recommend him. Now, I'm not a big Transformers fan either. I bought this guy and I said, hey, you know what? I was originally going to buy Optimus, but now looking back at the figure, I actually don't like the look of that figure too much. I recommend it to Transformers fans who want to try their very first Voyager class just to get kind of a feel of how the line is, even though he might be a little expensive here or there. Again, I don't recommend buying him for anything over $50. Or if you're just a huge Megatron fan, I absolutely recommend this guy. Now,
Time to die!
I don't know why he's a pirate. Well, we've had our fun. But now, it's time to move on.
Freak Megatron.